Welcome to Scarefest.
This is the entire convention.
Come to Joe's Scenic Basement.
All right.
Touch whatever you want. I don't care.
My name is Joe Lewis. This is Bonehead. Today we have a special guest star.
It's not me.
Chad's only special on certain occasions.
Over there we have
James Spot.
and Brandon Griffith. How are you doing, Brandon?
Doing just fine.
How did you get into the basement?
Crawl space.
I've been here for weeks.
I just realized this. I'm wearing two different socks.
Thank you for
Nobody
breaking
gives a
that
shit.
down.
I'm wearing a
Everybody
yellow
down.
one and a black
We've
one.
got to do a show. So anyway, this
My
is
socks are not a show?
this is the second time you are our second guest ever. Not the first, but second.
I'll play second fiddle. Who's the first?
Sloppy seconds to Ken Boggle.
Oh,
I did that just to be able to finally say that line.
right behind Ken Boggle.
Mm-hmm. Aren't we all?
Sorry,
Is
lover.
Ken watching? Yeah, all right. Anyway, so what's coming up this week? By the time this episode airs, Scarefest, right?
What is it? Oh, September 29th to October 1st.
Yes, there you go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about movies. So, Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself. How in the hell did you end up buying Scarefest?
Well, I mean, there's really not that much to it exactly. But like,
You went to a crossroads. There was this demon.
well, when it started was a game of Russian roulette with Patty. And after 3 turns,
She Christopher Walken,
mouth.
how Deer Hunter-esque.
And so, anyway, Layla and my wife are really good friends, and we had worked with Patty and Chuck over the last few years, just kind of coming up with some ideas for folks that they could bring in. And we were sponsors, investors at one point in time. And so here recently, obviously, Patty and Chuck decided to get out of it. And, an opportunity presented itself, and what's they saying, Dan Aykroyd, everybody's got three mortgages nowadays.
Yeah, everybody's got 3
So,
mortgages
yeah.
nowadays. Ghostbusters. Not that the boneheads don't love Ghostbusters. I'm pointing-
Overrated.
I know you're joking, but I do want to hurt you now.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if I can sit next to this man.
Yeah.
It's 100 times better than any David Lynch film.
Oh my God.
Mother Puss Bucket. Yeah, Miranda's out there right now going to stab you.
That whole planet, I just don't understand why that whole planet hates me.
Serenity reference
Serenity
for the
reference.
for the
Anyway,
win, I guess.
this show has went off the rails already. So you bought Scarefest. That takes
bought it.
cojones, man.
So it was between that,
and a new
the
car.
Bronies convention, and the Danish flops.
What the
There's a
hell?
brony convention?
I was going to say, could we mix those?
You
'Cause
know,
I think Scarefest and Bronies, there's no way this could go bad.
I don't know about a brony convention, but I know there's a ton of the, what is it? It's not Furbies.
Danish flops?
What is
Because I
it?
kind of meant to say British flops. and
What
it
is
came
the
out Danish.
people who dress up as animals?
Furries.
Furries. There's a
Furries.
couple of furry ones.
Well, I don't think the Bronies and Scarefest thing would make. So, like, did you remember like that one year that there was a country music concert that was going on?
Oh, there's
It
been
was
a
the same weekend, and then the guys from like Wicked World, and it was like Braveheart scene, like where they all clashed in the food court.
Oh, I got one.
And so you had like a 7-foot transvestite with a guy, like,
who was at the country music
like,
festival.
yeah. And then our guy that was in the shit kickers. That was,
I've got one better for you. I went to a convention in
Louisville.
No, Cincinnati. Was it Louisville?
It was Louisville.
It was Louisville.
I wasn't there, but
where
it was
they
Louisville.
booked 2 conventions at the same time. This horror movie convention and a Civil War reenactment group. So you had people dressed up like zombies and goth and everybody that we love to see at Scarefest intermingling with these 80-year-old men dressed in Civil War attire.
In
The
my mind,
daughters
And they're
of
walking,
the South.
and they're walking around, and they had one whole section dedicated to tattoo artists. Like people were, it was open door, and there was people getting tattooed, and you'd watch all these old people in Civil War attire walk by and go, just have the most stunned look as to what the heck they just walked into.
See,
It was the funniest moments ever.
In my mind now, I want to write that as if they're actually writing letters home during the
Yeah.
Dearest Martha, this young Voorhees is killing all these children. I don't know if we'll make it through the winter. My prayers are with you.
and I somehow got chlamydia.
It had nothing to do with you, Martha.
But you know what? And I've said this before, not to get off on a serious note, there's no damn difference. If you will go to a Civil War reenactment and actually dress up and do that, you are LARPing, you're cosplaying, you're doing the same thing. If you go to a football game and your player's favorite jersey and scream, if you can tell me who pitched for the Reds in 1962, it's all geekdom. Don't you agree?
Yeah,
it's
man.
just the sports one's a little more socially acceptable. If you dress
actually,
up, and if you paint yourself completely blue and go to one of those UK games, you are no weirder than the 7-foot
If you have
transvestite
something
dressed
you
up
love
as.
that much,
Yeah, it's
then,
passion.
Then, yeah, that's
Well,
what it all
Let
boils
your
down to.
freak flag fly.
I think though, you say it's more acceptable. I think the geek have inherited the earth. I
Well,
think
we're
we have
getting
now
there.
turned that corner.
We're getting there.
That it is now. I mean, Big Bang Theory is a hugely popular show.
Really?
This
Get
is-
the cell phone on.
This has started to be.
I have a 1-year-old.
So?
I'm turning it off.
Oh, you can get on.
I think that's it. I think we are getting to the point now where it is much more socially acceptable to be geeky than it was when I was getting killed in high school.
Anyway,
It's the internet.
it's the internet.
Internet.
Damn those internets. So what
No,
cons?
yay those internets.
What cons have you been to? How
I
did
mean,
you start out going to them?
over the years, when I actually got out of college, I worked 3 jobs the whole time I was in college when I could actually afford to have fun. Like,
Brandon and I didn't know each other till a few months ago, and then about
Right.
3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a conversation on the phone and realized we were at the same college, at the same town, at the same time,
yeah.
and
that
knew
would
some
be-
of the same people.
And that would be me as well.
And Chad was there as well.
I worked at the bookstore, a gas station, and I was a bouncer.
And we
I couldn't
even-
bounce a rubber ball.
But I even knew some of the people you worked with at the bookstore, and
Mhm.
how we never knew each other is beyond me. But we never met.
I mean, especially as small as Morehead is.
I
I don't
know
know.
It doesn't surprise me because I was an extreme introvert. So
it's not changed.
Yeah,
He still
no.
is. He doesn't like people. He doesn't like most things. He also doesn't like America.
I said,
Hates David Lynch and America. Why doesn't
He
Chad
made
more
he
popular?
made a comment about not liking guns and fireworks. Oh, the Twitter sphere.
Hashtag un-American.
yeah.
Un-American. Yeah, absolutely.
I also don't like Fords.
So anyway,
Oh my God! There goes another sponsor, son of a gun.
I was
Anyway.
referring to John Ford.
Oh. See, now I'm
no,
more
you
mad.
didn't piss me off.
That's exactly why I made that joke.
You will not bespeech the searchers.
What was that?
The searchers. Sit back. I can't see the gas.
Yep,
Bald
we
son of a bitch.
We're normally
I
not.
hate fjords like Swedish.
Fjords. Pining for the fjords. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I-
Oh yeah,
no,
I like
cons.
cons that I've been to and stuff.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yes.
I mean, you
I
went and bought one.
always collect comic books and any kind of horror hound and Days of the Dead and all that stuff. I went back and forth to those every time I had a possibility to do it. And Scarefest, when I didn't even know it existed until a friend of mine told me that Romero was there. And I went, and that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it and been going ever since. I don't know, to me, even before my involvement with it, it just seems like it's a little bit of a different beast in and of itself. Everybody's really good friends there.
Yeah.
It really
seems
is.
to be a lot of passion there, and why not? Why wouldn't anybody want to be a part of that? So when I had the opportunity, I was like, well, my dad always told me that not to be I lost him last year, and he was always like, if you got a chance to do something, don't be scared to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, come October, I'll either be living behind a dumpster or doing all right.
Hey,
So we'll
listen.
see.
Listen,
You-
Joe's got a basement.
Chad has a house, and James is as destitute as you are. But,
Why did I get that PhD in education?
yeah. Anyway, well, yeah, no, I think it takes balls of steel, man. You're the ultimate collector. You went out and bought your own convention. You thought about it that way?
No, I didn't.
Screw it. I've got.
I
own a
diversify.
convention.
I do social work and
Well, we do. We
conventions,
talk about
so.
Scarefest a lot, and I do a lot for Comic Con. And I've said this publicly, and Comic Con's been good to me, but Scarefest treats me like family, which I guess is good and bad depending on which family you're in.
It's
But
like
they
the
do.
Manson family.
Scarefest is always Patty, everybody always treated me like family. So I've been asked more than once publicly in other places, and James and Chad have seen it, and I've said, which one do you prefer doing? Well, Comic Con sometimes gets me some bigger stars, but I prefer to do Scarefest.
Yeah, I love Comic-Con, but the thing with Scarefest is like, and all the guys that I've met, like all the work they do that's volunteer, like and what you guys do, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody just, I mean, they pour their heart and soul into it, and it's inspiring to see that, I think.
Yeah, we've enjoyed it. The three of us, well, most of us have been. I've been to every single one.
I haven't been to one.
That
That was the very first one. So.
Yeah, I've been to every single one. You've missed one or two.
I had to miss last year's.
So, and I've been to all of them. Haley, how many have you been to?
4, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, we go
You
to
should
it
be
a lot.
ashamed.
We go to it a lot.
We've been
I'm
like
way
the same
younger,
years.
hold on.
You can buy in next year if you want to. Be right back.
Okay.
So, what movies do you like? Start telling us about it. How did you get into being a geek?
I love Tank Girl.
Oh my
I
God!
love this man.
Can either one of you tell me who directed it?
I can just tell you that Ice-T was a mutant kangaroo.
Kangaroo.
Yeah.
Actually, you could have stopped there. Ice-T is a mutant. And
So
we
just because we don't know the
respect
director, that
Yeah.
means we don't like the movie.
No, I just wanted.
I was gonna say who.
I
that's
just
the
wanted
ones
to
you
be a
live in.
pompous bastard by
Yeah,
saying
no.
it's Rachel Talalay. She
Congratulations.
gave us Freddy's Dead.
Which is a good Freddy, sorta.
Nah,
Nah, not really.
yeah.
I was gonna say gave. Is that? I mean, it exists.
She birthed it.
Well, there's an image I didn't need today.
So no, other than Tank Girl, what else?
We get all kinds
Notice
of
how
nasty
I
comments
moved
about
away.
liking Tank Girl. But no, I
It
mean,
is an
I think
epic film.
if I had to put one up on a mantle, it always has to be horror movies, and it would have to be The Shining. That's my
Really?
go-to love. Like, if you've never been at the Stanley Hotel,
I've been.
it put it all into new perspective for me. I have to go out there. Oh, I've been out there twice too. I have to go out.
I was gonna make an awful joke about furries, I'll tell her, but I'm not.
Where we started narrowing it down, we were there at the same time in the same room. Oh, that was you. Oh,
You know the bear at the scene where the guy raises up?
And
That's
Joe,
the bear. I'm the guy raising up.
I was gonna say Joe doesn't need to be dressed in a costume.
To be a bear?
Yeah, you're Harry.
Yeah. I get
Got
it. Yeah. So be
dude,
quiet, Otter.
I booked room 217 a year in advance.
Did
So
you
I-
really?
I-
So you actually stayed there?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I have to go there like once a year for work, and so we booked it. We went out the first year, drove up there. That was the year that it was all like it flooded, and so we had to go 4 hours around to get there. Anyway, so we booked room 217 a year out. They also in the subsequent time that from when I got it legalized marijuana there. I'll just say that. And so we got
They had
to-
legalized it when I was there in May as well.
we got 217 and I could not go. I couldn't go to the bathroom with the door closed. Like I was freaking out like all night and like it's just awesome. And they do these tours.
Yeah.
And so the next morning,
I just imagine you laying in bed and them going, and this is room
well,
217.
it's something really scary. You know? so
Were
they
you in the bathtub all bloated?
so they do the tours like this was in the morning, which I thought was weird, but so they go up to 217 and I could hear them out there.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to check out.
Yeah.
And so I let her talk and stuff, and then I just opened the door real quick and step out. And everybody just lost their shit. Like one lady took off running down the hallway. It was beautiful.
You suck because I never got to stay there because it's so expensive. I wouldn't pay
Dude,
for it.
that's why I did it
tour.
for like a year, and I was like, I just got to do it and mark it off my bucket
I
list.
know. I want to do it
And
too.
so I've got to take Nicole out there if we can get around to it.
Christy refuses to stay in it. I'm one of those that doesn't.
They do that whole like shining ball out there, like all this stuff around Halloween.
Yeah.
They have a
It's
huge film
fantastic.
festival too, and
Yeah, I
Estes
saw
Park
that.
is beautiful. If you ever get a chance, Estes Park is just amazing.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. But that being said, the ghost tour is cool. You're right. Because I was thinking that when I did the tour you're outside these people's rooms and you can see people coming and going the whole time.
Yeah. I'll tell you
This
what's
has to
even,
get annoying.
I'll tell you what's even scarier is having a cocktail at 10,000 feet. That'll catch up with you real quick.
Did you get one of those red rums?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I did too. All right, now we're geeking out on one another. So The Shining. You know about Stephen King not caring for the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm a real Stanley Kubrick fan, and I'm a real Stephen King fan. But I just love the whole layout of the movie. I love the book. Everything about it. Like I just.
Hold on, I gotta skip. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Thoughts? Yes! Yes.
Did you see our? You need to watch our show about movies that are
Yeah.
famous, that are great, that some of us consider overrated. He went off on a tangent about.
I saw that actually,
Oh, okay.
and I have to say I kind of agree. Like I don't really get into space odyssey that much.
I thought we were going to have a bromance.
Dude,
I know we just met.
if that ends the entire relationship, I'll watch it again. Maybe I'll take it in a different light.
Yeah, you'll take it any way you can get it. Sorry.
I've been married for 3 years.
I was like, I know we just met. I'm sending you a Valentine's Day card every February.
He
Well,
doesn't
now
send
it
anybody
got
Valentine's Day
creepy.
cards.
It went-
Mrs. Jennings doesn't get a Valentine's Day
I'm not
card.
trying to just like side with him on all his movies, but like I could not get into it.
This has went dark so quick.
I know. So what are some other ones you like?
Huge Romero fan. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I can watch that. Me and Dad, like the first movie we ever watched was Day of the Dead.
Are you serious
And
with
he
your dad?
laughed.
That's the first one?
Yeah, he laughed his ass off because like the zombie dressed as a clown, like when they stormed the underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that was the first one. I watched Day of the Dead first. That was the first one I ever watched, and that's one I can watch over and over. And I never get tired of.
Okay. What's some other movies you love?
Obviously, Star Wars, the whole Evil Dead series, Army of
Star
Darkness, love
Wars.
that. Pretty much almost everything that you've got on your wall.
I know. Well, if the camera could turn around, there's an original Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back over here behind you. So yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Over on the couch we have Chad and a Trekkie.
I like other stuff too. I have other interests.
He does not. It's just Trek.
Yeah.
It's just
So
24/7 Trek.
Was it always horror though? I mean, was
Horror was always like so. My mom, she was a school teacher, but she got a movie store when I was in middle school, and I worked it. And so I watched, like, I picked out the movies for
Where were you born and raised?
Jackson, Kentucky.
So which video store were you at in Jackson?
It was called Big B. It was only open for a little bit. I didn't say how long she owned a video store, but like, so we
That's
got
okay.
we got some of those videos after it was done. But anyway, so we worked that for a little bit, and I watched every movie in the joint. And then I grew up on a farm, and so we had satellite on my dad's side, and so I had an unhealthy Skinamax addiction for my teen years. But I watched everything. That was where I first watched Tank Girl.
Oh wow.
That's where I watched like almost every movie that came out, and I had these big long I VHS'd everything and just made these big libraries.
I did the same thing. We
Same here.
almost the same story.
Yeah.
Of course, you didn't have
I
satellite.
didn't have satellite. I got movies elsewhere.
Well, yeah, but you grew up closer to the city than he and I did, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Waddy, Kentucky, which is the exact center point between Lexington and Louisville, and I was 20 minutes away in the exact center of Frankfort and Shelbyville. So my video store as a child was Box Office Video.
Ooh.
And man, and I had a twisted childhood in terms of movie knowledge. Like,
the kitty pit look.
Star Wars is one of my favorite movies as well. However, when I grew up, my mom and dad would rent our movies for us, and they only rented Return of the Jedi. My whole childhood, I thought Return of the Jedi was the only movie. I didn't know that there was 2 other movies before that. And I grew up loving Return of the Jedi. Now, before the prequels, Return of the Jedi is, kind of the least loved movie up until, like I said, up
that
until
explains
the
a
prequels.
lot. You were scarred as a child.
Yeah.
The
And then
Ewoks
of course,
touched you.
as a teenager, I found out, there's actually 2 other movies to this: Star Wars
See,
and.
I understand
Empire
how you
Strikes
can do that kind of with the Evil Dead series. Like I discovered Army of Darkness first before I found out about the other 2. Did you do the same
Yeah.
thing? But I don't know how you do that with Star Wars.
I mean, you got if
Because
not
Evil
knowing.
Dead was kind of a cult classic, whereas Star Wars is.
I was a very sheltered
phenomenon.
child. I mean, I didn't have. I'm not joking when I said I was an introvert. I didn't have a social circle who introduced these things to me until high school. So, yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
He would just
you
break
talk
into
about
people.
Romero.
He would just break into people's homes and watch whatever they were watching.
Romero. I didn't see Dawn of the Dead. I didn't see not Day of the Dead until later on. I thought the only Night of the Living Dead movie was the remake, the full color remake.
I thought that for a very long time
Yeah,
myself.
I didn't know that there was 3 movies made before that.
Really?
Yeah. So I was just I stumbled onto them later.
Okay. So, we're getting off topic. So, what other questions could we ask Brandon? So,
Wait, you collect comic books.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I got to ask this: favorite comic book hero?
I've collected Iron Man since I was 6.
Okay.
So it's not Booster Gold?
I like Booster Gold. I'll stab you in the throat. Booster Gold's an underappreciated.
I'm looking from his. Do you know what Booster Gold is?
No,
I don't.
Oh
either.
my god!
I have no idea.
You want to know something funny? Because this is the crap I get. I don't game. I'm not a gamer, and I don't know anything about comic books.
My first comic book that I owned was Iron Man, though. It was like the 30th anniversary edition. It was tinfoil. It was foil wrapped.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah,
amazing.
So
So
I've pretty much every edition after 50.
okay.
And so like, I never throw anything away, man.
But Booster Gold is not my favorite comic book hero. Green Lantern is, you son of a bitch.
So can we back up for just a second? Who the
Yeah.
hell is Booster Gold?
Booster Gold
Oh my
is
god!
a DC comic
Is
hero.
this something you can text me on afterward?
No.
Let's run this.
Let's do it.
I want him to
Because we
explain
haven't
it.
done it. We were going to do a comic book show.
I want him to explain it in a way to see if it makes me even more interested. Spoiler, it won't. Go ahead, Jay.
So Booster Gold is about a guy who is in the 30th century. He is a janitor at a museum. He is a disgraced football player. He determines that
This is the Toxic Avenger.
yes, but he decides he wants to make money. So what he decides to do is he decides to steal a an outfit that enhances his strength, Legion of Superheroes flight ring, and various other equipment, and also the security droid from the museum, and travel back in time to the current century and market himself as a superhero, and he gets sponsors to promote him, so why he goes and saves people.
So it's like NASCAR?
That's exactly like NASCAR. He wears like logos all down his uniform.
It's capitalism Superman. I don't know why I'm not more interested in that.
He was created in the 80s during the Reagan era. So it's an amazing story. It's an amazing character. Just a guy who literally travels back in time to become a superhero so we can make money.
Yeah, that's terrible. I prefer Power and Glory.
Now let's go on about Captain America and ooh, I can throw a shield. Woo!
No, my God.
One of them punches Nazis. The other one would take money from Nazis.
No.
That's
no.
right. He takes money from Nazis, kids. Don't read Booster Gold. I'm getting a call from DC later.
Yeah, no.
So anyway, Brandon.
No, they're too busy screwing up their cinematic movies.
Harsh, but fair.
We were talking before the show. He also collects Fangorias, which I have every Fangoria ever made. So how did you get into Fango?
Oh, man.
Because I remember how I got into it.
Like I was, Hellraiser 3,
Yeah.
they had an article, like, I used to come, my dad would bring me up to Lexington quite often.
To the big city.
Well, we get all of our food at Sam's Club. We bought in bulk. Just
Oh,
like it's
yeah?
every God-given American's right. we had to drive 2 hours to do it. I mean, who doesn't need a big box of Slim Jim?
Yeah.
And so every time we come
I
up
can't
here,
argue with you on
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
and so I played D&D, and so every time we would come up here, we would go to a bookstore, and I would go through the periodicals, and Hellraiser 3 was out there, and I was a real big Lemmy fan, and so I'd watched Hellraiser 3, got the article, started reading it, and then, like, you can't go back from that. Like, if you find them, like, you have to, like, go at, like, yard sales and, like,
Oh, yeah.
swap meets and all that stuff. So I managed to do that, but
By
now,
the way, for you layman's, D&D is Dunkin' Donuts. Continue.
Why did we try, Chad? Why did we try?
We're going to get to the D&D in a second.
They
but
roll
keep going.
die and determine is it glazed chocolate.
And I don't mean to bring it on a sad note, but your dad sounds great, because my dad was not interested in any of that
Yeah,
shit.
no, neither was my
no. Dad wasn't hardcore to, like, the Dungeons and Dragons things, because that was, like, right after, like, that Tom Hanks movie Mazes came out, or
Oh,
Mazes,
yeah.
whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
So, like, he was worried, I think, that I was going to, like, stab somebody, but he got over it fairly quick.
But it sounds like he was really supportive though with all this stuff.
He support anything.
You should have shown him the more epic cartoon, Dungeons and Dragons. That's an amazing cartoon.
I like that cartoon.
I
Yeah.
like the cartoon too, but I don't have a copy of it. Do you have a copy? They
I-
only did one season, right?
Yeah, I'm buying one. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm going to.
Oh, well, good.
It's in these.
I have a girlfriend. She lives overseas.
It needs to be in my collection.
She's in Canada.
She's
You'll
in
never meet
Canada.
her.
You never know her. You never meet her.
You just don't understand.
Her name's Bernice.
She likes hockey
and
and
maple syrup.
and throwing syrup on top of snow and eating it.
And one of these days, I'm going to throw maple syrup on her.
And for some reason, puts
Because
gravy
I'm
on
pretty
her.
sure that's what sex is.
And then she likes gravy on her French fries, which I don't totally agree with.
Oh my god.
But we're allowed to have differences.
Just absolutely. Let me throw this maple syrup on your Bernice.
And she
I'm gonna
like-
sex you up.
And she likes hats.
my God.
Well, she's Canadian. Anyway.
Sorry, Dog Butters. I apologize.
I didn't even realize I was. You deserve
We
it.
have one Canadian fan.
We would have more, but we won't stop making fun of Canada.
I'm gonna stop at Kroger's on the way home and come in with a thing of maple syrup so I can spice things up tonight.
I told you. What should you say to her? Check it with your face. Well, you got to say it just that way.
I figured out a way to work that into
You
conversation.
just got to. There's some sort of swelling she needs to look at, and she needs to check it with her face.
I don't see where that could end well at all. but-
Hey, I've made it with an Earth woman at least once successfully.
That's why when my daughter was born, I got a onesie just so I could show it off. The hospital people loved it. It was like, I'm proof that nerds get laid.
Oh, that's pretty
And so,
good.
so I had her wear it like everywhere. I was like, see?
Well, his first daughter was born. We bought her a onesie that said "Crack Baby."
And they wore it to Cracker Barrel.
And we wore it actually to Scarefest.
Yeah.
Because we took her down to Scarefest when she was really little. And we got such comments as, that's the healthiest crack baby I've ever seen. I'm like, it's not a literal shirt. It's not like we would be
joke.
terrible parents and be like, no, we actually did this and check it out.
Yeah. You want to hold her?
I gotta go to the car. I need somebody 5 minutes.
Trina. Anyway, back to Fangoria. Fangoria is one of my favorite. Was one of my favorite things growing up, and I discovered it when I was a teenager. And like I said, I spent the next 20 years probably collecting all the way back from issue 1 all the way through. And it's out of business now for the most part. They just do digital subscriptions. We were talking about it.
That was the only way I could learn about movies that I hadn't watched yet.
That was the only
thing
way-
keyed me out to like so many things.
Sam Raimi was my favorite director, and once I discovered him, I just fell in love with him. And I've never met him. As one of the few people that I haven't met that I really want to meet, and that was the only way I could read about it. It was the only magazine that wrote about them. And James, you read Starlog. Starlog was the same thing. For the sun.
Well, Starlog.
Starlog?
Yeah.
It's
Is it called
log.
Log?
Yeah.
Really.
Log?
Yep.
We did an
Starlog and
episode with
Wizard.
Black Hole a couple of weeks ago.
No, see, with
How many times
Starlog,
did you laugh at Black Hole?
every time it was like, but what's James's version of a
Starlog
Starlog is
in
he,
your
is he unzips his pants, throws glitter down there.
What the hell's wrong with you? No,
It's
Starlog.
better than that peanut log thing.
I'm not the one who goes around town with his pants down going.
Starlog and Wizard. Wizard, the Guide to Comics, always had a movie section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. What was great about both Fangoria and Starlog and all those was when you go back and read all the stuff that was supposed to happen that never did. I found some of my old Wizards and I was
Yeah.
looking through it about, what was Wizard came out in 1992 or whatever. And it's like, James Cameron is going to do Spider-Man, and here's what's going to happen, and none of it came.
I watched.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you look at the background of that, it is so happy that didn't happen.
Oh, no, it is
I know
great.
he's going to change it to a different world, right, and everything. Like it was a different. It
Oh,
wasn't
there-
going to take.
there were
It wasn't
four-
going to be in. It wasn't going to take place in America.
There's
or something.
4,000 different scripts for that. It's the same way if anybody's seen the documentary about Superman, that was going to star Nick Cage and all that. That documentary is worth your time.
Directed by Tim Burton. Did you know about this?
Yeah,
It's a great
I've
documentary.
heard about that. but
If you
enjoyed it.
watch the documentary, the footage that leaked was literally only going to be 10 seconds in the film. It was a light-up suit and everything. If the documentary, which came out a couple years ago, and it was actually on Showtime the other night at 2 a.m. After the adult film. I don't know why, but anyway.
After you were done baiting, please get on with
No.
your story.
After you got done with Lady Chatterley's gloves.
I
Just
don't
what is
better
Emmanuel getting into tonight, James?
Just before you get done with that, like you need like
Space
a
and-
cuddle, like calm down period.
Yeah.
Apparently it's-
It's
I need the
called-
only way I can calm myself down is to watch a documentary about Nicolas Cage. I did not know that about
That
myself.
usually gets in more Twitter pages.
No, anyway, but that's why I do love, and you can go back to Fangos because the stories about what was supposed to happen, you're sitting there going, that could have been epic or awful, but it would have been interesting.
Toby Hooper. There's a poster for Toby Hooper was going to direct Spider-Man for Canon Films in the '80s.
Oh yeah.
It's true. They made the poster. It's as far as it got. I'm not shitting you. Look it up. There's a great. It's called Electric Boogaloo, right?
Yep.
And it's a movie about.
It's a documentary about.
Canon. And then they're on. There's what's the Fantastic Four movie?
Corman.
They made a
Corman's
documentary about that. That's now on.
Yeah.
I watched it on Amazon the other night. Did you ever see that one that Roger Corman did?
No.
The Fantastic
I
Four.
still
You gotta
stand
watch
by.
that
That
movie.
is the best film of Fantastic
And I
It never
Four.
got
I-
released.
I agree with James. Yeah, so Roger Corman, the background of the Fantastic Four Roger Corman movie is Roger Corman, they wanted to maintain the rights
Was it Roger Corman?
It wasn't Roger Corman. The company
Constantine Films
wanted to retain the rights to the Fantastic Four, so they had to make a movie. So they gave it to Roger Corman, and Roger Corman made this movie with never having any intention of releasing it.
Now the story goes, I watched the documentary, that Roger wasn't in on it necessarily. That they don't think Roger knew that it was never going to be released because they finished it.
Right.
Well, and that was the thing. Even Marvel, if you go back, and again, go back to your back issues, kids, but Marvel even did, I mean, they had things in the comic book saying, hey, like there was the bullpen of where Marvel used to have the, here's what's going on in the editing room. They even did a little joke panel for it where Stan Lee talking to the guy that played Reed Richards, and how, what was it like playing it? It was a bit of a stretch. It's a horrible joke. But they built in all these little advertisements for it, and then it never came out.
Yeah.
And the reason is, and you guys gotta watch the documentary if you haven't seen it yet, because I just thought, oh, they just made it. Technically, all they had to be was in production.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that was the only reason, they would have never finished it. Part of it is that Chris Columbus was really interested in doing it, and they think that they just paid off Corman to give him money so they wouldn't even come out, so they could woo Chris Columbus into doing it.
Okay.
To do a bigger budget version, which never happened.
Right, never happened.
Never.
I
years
I
later,
agree with James. You should check it out because it is the best Fantastic Four movie.
There's no budget. The special effects suck.
Yeah,
but as far as actually being true to the comics, nobody's done it better.
But and also too, I just like their interpretation of Doctor Doom and the Thing are spot on. So.
Right.
But then there's a weird musical number in the middle that makes no sense.
Well, listen.
I'll
the
try
musical
anything after
number
watching the rest
Spider-Man
of them,
3.
so.
And watching the what?
After watching the rest of them, like everything's come out subsequent.
Well, yeah. So back to, I guess I should ask you some more stuff about Scarefest. So what have you done differently? Is there anything that's changed this year?
So this year we have adjusted around like the film festival thing. We did that like on site, and it was all in the con. And so one of the things we wanted to do was to kind of keep that going throughout the year.
Right.
And so last month we did. We're having them all out at Kentucky Theater. We call it Thursday Night Dead,
which is great.
Yes.
It was the first one was a lot of fun. It was Hooker with a Hacksaw.
I wish we wrote it.
It was.
I would have wrote Hooker with a Hacksaw.
We'll write the sequel if they want us.
There needs to be more blank with blank feeling. Hobo with a Shotgun, I actually enjoyed. Hooker with a Hacksaw. There needs to be a genre.
World's blanketest blank.
I prefer genre films of blank with blank. So let's go with Hooker with a Hacksaw.
Movies need more prepositions in their title. That's what it all boils down to.
Well,
and it's
something in the or around the.
You walk into that film and it's like Hobo with a Shotgun. I was watching it and be like, I know what I'm going to get with this movie. Now it may not be a great film, but there will be a hobo
and there will
be a shotgun.
The funny thing was, like, Ken got up, and Ken is an amazing public speaker. Like, Ken on stage is awesome. So Ken gets up there and basically tells everybody that it's called Hooker with a Hacksaw for a reason. You probably should not be offended, and this is what you're going to see.
Right.
Sure as the world, about 20 minutes into it, somebody walks out and is just like, no, it's just too much.
Really? Is it?
Right.
We didn't get a chance to make it. Was it really that graphic?
I didn't think so, but like this was somebody like I just didn't understand how somebody could show up at a movie called Hooker with a Hacksaw
and not expect,
and then somehow think that it was going to be puppy dogs and butterflies. Like that just doesn't.
I thought it was a home improvement film that somebody was going to hang hooks and use hacksaws to help them.
Well, don't worry. Like I said, Joe's going to do the sequel, and it's going to be called Prostitute with a Paring Knife.
You should see that prostitute. You should see that knife.
Jezebels and Scissors. The whole series.
Jezebels and Scissors.
That's
much better. That's the sequel to Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
Can I do the upscale? Can I do the upscale Merchant Ivory film of women of ill repute with garden shears? I think we can do.
You could have gone Harlot with a hatchet. You went with that.
Women of ill
Harlot
repute
with a hatchet is pretty good.
Women of ill repute is higher level. That's the way.
Harlot with a
she is a. We could go even like old school stuff. Oh, she's a fallen woman. So we got. There's options here.
I'm sticking with Harlot with a hatchet. That's
yeah.
the best idea you've had in 10 years.
Thank you. I prefer Prostitute with a Paring Knife.
No.
That will just be the tank girl of these films.
There you go. Don't chad this up. Anyway.
Floozy with a fizz
By the way, let me get in our Asylum Films. We will actually write any of these.
Yes.
Right now.
I'm already on
Very
Floozy
little-
with the fizz gig.
Very little-
As long
And the whole movie is, what the heck is a fizz gig?
actually, that's actually
My
what
God,
I
that's
was.
the animal from.
the
Dark Crystal.
And it's like, that's that. It's a fizz.
Oh,
gig.
that just made it all the more epic.
Harlot with a fizz gig.
No.
Floozy with the fizz gig.
Oh my God! I got my alliteration screwed up.
Oh, see, now we've lost everything. This is why we don't get.
Anyway, so we gotta go back to
So are you not? Are you going to be doing more of these Thursday Dead nights?
Yeah.
Thursday
So we've
Night
got.
Dead.
Yeah, we've got. We're gonna have 2 nights in this next month. And one's gonna be Space Babes from Outer Space. And we've got
Space Babes.
Space. The title's a little bit redundant, but Space Babes from Outer Space.
Well,
Now,
no,
are you saying these are women, babes,
Yep.
who are in space?
Yeah.
No, it's a bunch of little piggies.
No, shh. And they are from where again?
They are from outer space.
Well,
No,
no,
these
that's-
are babes who are in space who are from.
Outer space.
Well, no, that's actually good to know though, because I mean, I could go. Well, I can't. But Neil
Space
Armstrong.
babes from Estes Park.
Neil Armstrong went to space, but they didn't make him from outer space.
That's
He just
true.
visited. So he was a space Neil Armstrong who was from
So
Earth.
if we just put the babe in space, it could be space babes from Utah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we need to specify that they are there and they are actually
Look
from
at
there.
those Mormon space babes.
Wouldn't it be Salt Lake babes from Utah?
What?
Well, why
It's
does
kinda
it have
the
to be
same
Salt Lake? Utah's
That's
a big state.
It's the only town I do in Utah.
There's Sundance, and then Utah.
I'll just
Is
say,
it called Sundance?
I don't think it's
There's
called-
an actual Sundance, isn't?
I thought it took place in. I forget the name of it now. But go
No,
ahead.
an actual Sundance would be go, ow, shit, ow, ow.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
This is
so
why- this is
Space
why we-
Babes from Outer Space is the next one.
Yep, and then we're we're gonna get through Scarefest, and then we're gonna be posting the ones that are coming out after that.
Oh, that-
So,
That's great because the
Yeah.
Kentucky Theater is a national treasure.
it's awesome down there. It's a lot of fun.
It really
and,
is. It's
And folks,
amazing.
Yeah,
a lot of folks showed up for a hooker with a hacksaw, which I mean, who wouldn't? And
we
everybody-
did. I'm sorry, I feel bad, but we didn't. make it.
yeah, assholes. But everyone,
I would. Joe
Slow
would have
clap.
been.
Slow
Joe would have
clap.
been there legitimately with actual bells on had you promised him an actual hooker with a hacksaw.
Or a hacksaw, really. I got some trimming that needs to be done around the property here.
There's jokes I could make at that, but I'm gonna let go.
My trimming?
Yeah,
My
stop.
man trimming?
Just stop. Stop, Joe.
Yeah, pruning around the hedges.
It's just Joe going around the hedges eating a bunch of prunes.
They're tasty.
And then the aftermath we don't talk about.
So, you got that going on. What else we got going on Scarefest
So-
this year?
the other piece of it is that we've also tried to move a little bit towards like science fiction kind of stuff too, a little bit.
Open it up a little bit more.
A little bit. Like we don't want to lose. Like never going to lose the horror side. Like I love that.
Yeah.
But like want to move a little bit more into like horror sci-fi. Like you said, like some of the MST3K stuff.
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
trying to
it's
pull off this
great.
year.
James,
Yeah.
I thought was going to bust a gut.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like those things. Like me and like I've been a huge MST3K fan for as long as I can remember, and so but trying to kind of get a little bit more diversified in what we're doing, and I think this year like we're trying to get folks that we haven't gotten in the past, and so Robert England's never been there, so
Which is huge.
we're great to have him, and really focusing on in future years like some of the guys that everybody's been talking about that we haven't been able to get for whatever reason, and really kind of putting a lot of emphasis in that.
No, it's great. I know that you have plans for future years and some people that you want to, and we've talked about it, and I'm not going to tell you now, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Next year they're getting, I think it's
Well,
somebody
we'll-
ridiculous.
I say.
James Cameron.
Ice-T from Tank Girl.
I see from Teen Girl.
Yeah, James
The
Cameron will be
photo
there.
op with him as a kangaroo creature will only cost you $300.
James Cameron will be there, and I will be interviewing him as to why the last good movie he did was True Lies.
Oh, I can hear my baby screaming.
Probably something Chad did.
Probably something.
But actually, and you talked about broadening it up a little bit and expanding it and to include science fiction. And the reason I asked you what brought you into horror and stuff like that was because, and I've told Joe and stuff like this before, as a kid I was an absolute coward. Horror films always got to me,
As
but
a
I
kid?
definitely.
The other night I pulled a sausage out on him.
Well,
He ran.
that's because you pulled a sausage out on me.
Just
and
say
that's
it one more
weird.
time, only say it slowly. And unbutton that top button while you say it.
Anyway,
Now spit on me.
but- oh,
Call me
gosh.
scum.
Oh, I wish I couldn't speak right now. This is only going to get worse.
Call me scum.
The- But no, I think science fiction, because that's the way I got into horror, was through science fiction. Because I loved science fiction as a kid, and as I got older, things like Event Horizon and things like that that were sold to me as science fiction, and then I got to see somebody's eyes pop in space. I think so. That's the reason I asked that question earlier. Was I think that science fiction, that these genres do build on each other.
I just the video store that I went to when I was a kid before Mom got that one. Like the horror movies were always next to the sci-fi section, and like every time I went in, I always went in with my grandma, and she didn't know what was what. She didn't care what I rented.
Yeah.
And so like I rented anything I could find, and I would spend all my time in the horror and sci-fi section. So it just kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah,
That's exactly what happened with me.
Yeah, I think we're all the same way. I mean, I love horror, but I don't know that it's my favorite genre. I don't think either three of us think it's our favorite genre.
No.
We love science fiction. We love comedy. I mean, clearly, if you were able to walk through the basement, there's Ghostbusters there. There's Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles
There's
over
a
there.
woman chained to the wall.
There's a
over
woman
there that
chained
we're
to the
ignoring.
wall. Hey, she knows not to talk. There's a Princess Bride as you come down the stairs. I mean, we just love movies and pop culture and entertainment.
Yeah, which, by the way, Young Frankenstein is probably right up there with The Shining for me. I probably should mention that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, my
Actually,
God.
and
I could watch that.
I actually showed
Every
it to
day.
my daughter who is 7, and because I was thinking, I watched that with my father when I was 5 or 6, and like there's some obvious sexual allusions and stuff like that.
Where?
Madeline Kahn. Anyway,
He likes to kiss his fingers.
Yeah.
Well, if I kiss Madeline Kahn right now, it takes a shovel and I get police call.
Necrophilia is a
Dead
dead
issue.
subject.
Anyway, but no, because I think that's the other thing is that there's so much of that. There is the stuff that is quote unquote adult aimed, but my daughter laughed at the stupid. Like she rolled in the floor when it was Igor when he comes downstairs and it's 10 years dead, blah blah, and he recently died. I ain't got. She's
It's
7 now.
hilarious.
Yeah, she
It's
was
hilarious.
rolling the floor, and I was just like, oh, that's so awesome. Because I remember being a kid and not getting any of the sex stuff or anything else, but it was all the
He
oh.
didn't get any of the sex stuff as an adult.
Well, ask your mother; she'll tell you.
It's a known fact that she's a whore.
She had a hacksaw. Your mother had a hacksaw.
And she was a hooker. Did the hooker make it out of the hacksaw problem there? I mean,
Oh, yeah, she worked it all out, yeah.
she worked it all
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has a happy ending then.
Well, when I go to a hooker, I usually hope for one.
yeah.
Thanks for setting me up, James.
I think we've done more advertisement for Hooker with a hacksaw.
And
Oh,
the
I've
subsequent
been talking-
sequels.
Yeah, I've been talking about it with everybody that I see that's never heard of it. And I was amazed that I've never heard about it before then.
I haven't. Has it been around for a while? Are they
Yeah,
local
like-
filmmakers?
I can't remember what year they actually shot it in, but it's fairly recent. And the lady that starred in it came out too, and so it was all really fun.
So was it made locally?
Yeah. Well, parts of it, like you see them like walk, and it had to be really recent because one scene was they were outside of the Red Light, the new restaurant, or in Lucy's.
Yeah.
And so there's one scene where she's walking through like downtown Lexington and stuff like that. Then there's some scenes that were shot look like in California or Florida. And so I can't remember exactly when it was made, but it's pretty recent.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're about done. We got any more questions for him?
Oh, I thought Haley was raising her hand.
No,
She
Haley was
just
giving
telling-
us the time.
Yeah, I've screwed this all up now.
You've totally
Behind
ruined
the
the show.
scenes.
We're going to
And
have
this
to do
is
it
new
again.
how?
Well, anyway, Brandon, it's been very nice having you on the show. It's been nice promoting Scarefest. We'll see you down there.
And again, when are the dates for Scarefest?
When are the dates for Scarefest?
September 29th, October 1st.
All right.
At the
And-
Lexington Convention
if-
Center.
At the Lexington Convention Center.
If you have never been, and I say this in all honesty, I don't get kickbacks, I promise, but it literally was something, it's very important, I think, to Lexington. Because I think, as we were talking about it when
Yeah.
I first started, it was really cool
It was before Comic-Con.
to have this in our backyard, to be able to go down, and if you can only go for one day, half the fun of it, as we've alluded to, because it is like a family environment, but just go to see the costumes and the crowds, and really that's half of the fun of cons to me, is being able to see that. So
And the
my
same
one
people
appeal,
every year
Yeah,
who
and,
come
and
in.
there's not a rude person there. Everybody's nice.
except for Chad.
Except for the people, no.
I don't know that I go that far. We've met some rude people. They're not been the employees, but there's
Yeah.
been some. Oh, juggalos, man.
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to shit on juggalos, but
And it's not all of them. Please don't beat me up in the parking lot.
please
Beat up
don't beat me
Joe.
up in the parking lot. And take a shower before you hit me. And on that note,
Convention floors do get
convention
hot.
floors, I'm going to have my ass kicked.
It
the
really
weekend,
is.
though.
It's one of the funnest times you can have.
Yeah.
No, and,
Everyone's
and, I,
very fast.
and actually, that's the other thing I will say. The vendors are always awesome. And real quick about that, I think that's the other thing. There's a vendor that normally is there that your wife stops by every year.
I'm married?
Um,
Yes. There's the lady who does the little vampires.
yeah, and so it's as much
Every
as
year-
it is a horror
every year she-
convention.
yeah.
Sunday is still Kids Day. Is that correct? So there is a day set aside for kids. There's a lot to do there. So again, I don't get kickbacks. I don't do anything else. But I can tell you, I have taken my kids. There's a great photo of my daughter.
The state has taken your children.
There's a great photo you took with my daughter with the critter. And my daughter's exact words were puppy.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Critter's coming back this year.
Oh, the critter's coming back?
We had somebody start making one.
I was gonna say it's new. It's new and improved, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
Did we get to drive it?
get your
Could you
motor
fit it
running.
What kind
I'm
of
trying to
fat
figure out,
joke is that?
Head out on the
I'm still trying to figure out how to get a small like beer cooler inside of it, and then like actually take it down to like Thursday Night Live. So if you see like a, probably end up on the news.
Could
like,
you
going
have
through there.
the
Just dive
critter
out of
just
the
come
way.
up to me on the stage and bring me a frosty beverage?
Well, my
and
goal
roll
is to
off?
have like some sort of hole through the mouth that I can just reach out and get a beer at Thursday Night Live and then pull it back in.
That would be
That'd be
great.
amazing.
Of course, something would happen and it would chomp off your arm. Somehow, some way.
The best part about this, by the way, is I now want to do a PSA. Please, as much as we joke about this, don't drive your critter drunk. 14 people died in a drunk critter driving
At the
accident.
end of G.I. Joe, the more you know.
Knowing is half
the battle. And with that,
G.I. Joe!
and
So
with
Scarefest, go.
go. Thank you so much, Brandon, for coming. I've
Oh,
been
thank
Joe
you.
Lewis.
James Thomas, Spot,
Brandon.
No one cares.
That's not true. People hate you.
Yeah, people hate me.
People
can't.
hate you, and they need to
would
put a
not
name to
hate
their
you.
hate.
They would not hate you. Miranda wouldn't hate you. Who else doesn't like him?
I mean, who were the starting lineup for the Reds? I mean, there's a lot of people, Joe.
Well, I don't know. They're the same people who bangulated my mom. So on that
I'm
note,
glad Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame.
You son of a whore!
thank you so much. This has been Bonehead. Toodles, we're out of here.
I've taken your Edgar Allan Poe.
Michael Jordan was a hack.
I've taken your Edgar Allan Poe trash talk. Will you say one more word about Pete Rose?
Say your thing about Edgar Allan Poe.
Died in a ditch. Banged his cousin. Died in a ditch.
Ditch. First time we ever met James.
I hate you
Is
so
it
much.
Targaryen?
Oh.
Oh, I wish I would have yelled, "Let Joffrey live."
Brandon's my favorite character.
Oh my God.
Have you seen
Can
any
you
of the memes
imagine
talking
you
about
would get how much shit you would get if you started a meme, let Joffrey live?